Welcome to the Military Shop Collector's Corner. We're just going to do another little feature on a couple of cool items. The helmet I'll just show you basically is just a fabulous Second World War paratrooper, British paratrooper helmet, and we'll come to that in detail in another post because that has a fabulous history behind it. The item I wanted to show you this time is the British Army Denison Smock, designed apparently by a guy in the camouflage unit of the British Army called Major Denison, and apparently he came up with the design of the camouflage, and the name stuck for the nomenclature of the actual jacket, so that became forever known as the Denison Smock. And so here we have a typical wartime example. First things to look for, if you're not familiar with them, is that the wartime examples normally just have a half zip, or the earlier patterns have the half zip to there. Later on there was a full zip put in, and you can sometimes find wartime ones with a full zip put in, but that's a later modification just for ease of use. Another example of what specifies whether these are earlier, later, mid-period, mid-war, etc., is the tail. And the tail was designed to stop wind going up the jacket. I guess that helped it whilst you were on your way down from a parachute jump. But also, it was easier to put the harness on, the parachute harness, if everything else was tied up nicely with this. So this fastens, this tail as we call it, fastens to the inside of these poppers with 3 different positions here. Now on a nice wartime jacket, generally, there are exceptions, but generally you're looking for brass poppers. We call these poppers. They're normally made by the Newey Popper Company, or the Newey Fastening Company, and they go up correspondingly to the front. They go up the inside, and you would fasten that to the height you desire, and that would keep your crotch and everything together, and all the equipment would go around you easily. A specific thing about these is generally the colour. The colours, once you spot the colour for a wartime one, they're quite recognisable, and you can generally see them at shows, and the lighter tones and the very light ones and the very dark greens and things came later. Obviously these were as a jacket were worn into the Irish Troubles in the 1960s and 70s, so the jacket style was used but not this earlier colour. Now a couple of other things I wanted to point out was the cuffs. Now you see cuffs done in all sorts of ways on these jackets, and there's no way that's definitively right and wrong, really. It depends on the jacket, but they have an adjuster here for tightening the jacket around the wrist, but also in this instance somebody's added some extra length to the sleeves. Period done. Why it's been done to both sleeves we don't know. Maybe the guy was a short guy, so the jacket's not a particularly huge size, but it's a short guy, and maybe he had slightly longer arms than the average guy, and he wanted to have a modified cuff. Sometimes you see these with what we call a stocking or a sock cuff on them, and sometimes they're manufactured with those on. They can be added later. There's a lot of variations to that sort of thing, and also in terms of manufacture you'll also see variations. If you look at the I don't know how visible this is going to be. If you look at the size of this popper here on this side, and it's a waist adjustment popper. If you look at the same size on the other side, it's perfectly genuine, but it's a lot smaller. Still made by the Newey Popper Company, but it's a lot smaller. So they must have used up old stocks and bits and bobs on these. This one is just a textbook example. Sometimes on these you'll find that the outer colour is faded or darkened because it's had some heavy use, and if you look under here, this example doesn't show it particularly well, but if you look under here, very often that the underside is a lot lighter than the exterior, and that shows that it's had a lot of wear. One thing that's wrong with this jacket, it's missing a popper there, but that's neither here nor there really in the collector's world. And then inside you would be looking for, should you wish to try and find one to buy, a good label. It's a bit awkward for me to do this, so I apologise that the camera's jerking about, but so it says Smocks, Denison Airborne Troops, size, the size of the gentleman who would have worn it, and then the nice date of 1944. So that's one of the ones that collectors will go for, in preference to anything dated 46, 47, 48, which are in lesser demand. So anyway, that's a quick look at this one. I'll just whiz it over, oops, so we can see the back, and you'll see that the back is just commensurate to the wear and tear of the front, quite good condition. The two poppers for retaining the there, we put that on there, the tail on the back, so it wasn't hanging down when you were walking about once you'd used your parachute and your equipment wasn't needed to be worn again. So just a nice example of a Denison Smock, not for sale, it's been borrowed just to make this video, but it's just a great example of one that and if you're looking for one, that's the sort of thing, if you want a wartime one, those are the attributes you're looking for. As I say, we'll come back to the helmet and its wonderful history in another post. Anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll have some more of these for you soon.